Picture this, the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, 1942. Beneath the waves, a silent predator lurks. German U-boats, hunting in packs, are strangling Britain. They're sinking hundreds of Allied ships, cutting off the vital lifeline of food, fuel, and weapons. The situation is desperate. Britain is on the brink of starvation, and the entire war effort hangs in the balance. This is the Battle of the Atlantic, the longest and one of the most crucial campaigns of World War II. The Allies were losing, and they were losing badly. But what if I told you that the key to turning this desperate tide was unjust found in more ships or bigger guns? What if the most powerful weapon in this battle was a secret so closely guarded that its full story wouldn't be known for decades after the war? This is the story of ULTRA, the Allied intelligence operation that cracked Germany's most secure codes, and how this incredible feat of mind and machine became the decisive factor in winning the Battle of the Atlantic. At the heart of Germany's naval power was the Enigma machine. This wasn't just a simple code, it was a devilishly complex electromechanical cipher device. Imagine a typewriter connected to a series of rotating wheels and a plug board. Every time a key was pressed, the rotors would turn, creating a new electrical pathway and substituting the letter for another. With millions upon millions of possible combinations, the Germans believed Enigma was absolutely unbreakable, and for a long time, they were right. The U-boat command could send encrypted messages to their submarines with complete confidence, coordinating devastating attacks on Allied convoys. The Allies knew they had to break this code. The fate of the war depended on it. Enter Bletchley Park, a Victorian country estate just outside London. On the surface, it looked like any other stately home, but inside, it housed some of the most brilliant minds of the generation: mathematicians, linguists, chess champions, and even crossword puzzle experts. These were the codebreakers, a secret army fighting a war of wits. Their task was monumental. They had to reverse engineer the Enigma machine's logic without ever having a full technical manual. Early breakthroughs came from Polish intelligence, who had done incredible work on Enigma before the war, and generously shared their findings with the British. This gave Bletchley Park a vital head start. Then there was the crucial element of captured materials. Every time the Royal Navy managed to seize an Enigma machine, code books, or rotor settings from a German U-boat or weather ship, it was like finding a key to a locked treasure chest. These captures were often incredibly dangerous missions, with sailors risking their lives to retrieve the priceless intelligence before the enemy vessel sank. One of the most famous figures in this story is, of course, Alan Turing, a mathematical genius. Turing was instrumental in designing the bomb, a massive electromechanical machine that could rapidly test thousands of possible Enigma settings. The bomb didn't crack the code in the way you see in movies, by spitting out a plain text message. Instead, it searched for logical contradictions based on a crib, which was a suspected or known piece of plain text, like a standard weather report or a common phrase. Once the bomb identified the likely daily settings for the rotors and plug board, the codebreakers could get to work deciphering the day's traffic. It was a painstaking, relentless process, a daily race against the clock. So, how did this incredible intelligence actually help win the battle? With the decrypted Enigma messages, codenamed ULTRA, the Allies could essentially read the German Navy's mail. They could pinpoint the locations of U-boat patrol lines. Instead of sailing blindly into a trap, Allied convoys could now be rerouted around the waiting wolf. It was like having a map of the enemy's every move. This had an immediate and dramatic effect. Shipping losses began to fall. More supplies, more troops, and more equipment made it safely across the Atlantic. Ultra-intelligence also allowed the Allies to go on the offensive. They could vector their own naval and air assist destroyer escorts and long-range patrol bombers directly to the U-boats. Locations: the hunter became the hunted. Before Ultra, finding a U-boat in the vastness of the ocean was like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, the Allies could actively track and destroy them. The introduction of new technologies like high-frequency direction finding, or HOOT, and improved airborne radar worked in perfect synergy with ULTRA intelligence, creating a deadly combination that the U-boats simply couldn't escape. The turning point came in the spring of 1943. In what the Germans called Black May, they suffered catastrophic losses. Over 40 U-boats were sunk in that 1 month alone. The loss of experienced crews was irreplaceable. Admiral Cardenitz, the commander of the U-boat fleet, was forced to withdraw his forces from the North Atlantic. The wolf pack strategy had been defeated. While the U-boat threat would continue in some form until the end of the war, it would never again pose a strategic threat to the Allied lifeline. The tide had decisively turned. The impact was immense. Securing the Atlantic sea lanes was the prerequisite for everything else the Allies did. It made the buildup of American forces in Britain possible. It fueled the strategic bombing campaign against Germany. And most critically, it paved the way for the D-Day landings in Normandy in 1944. Without control of the Atlantic, the invasion of Europe would have been impossible. Winston Churchill himself said that the only thing that ever really frightened him during the war was the U-boat peril. Ultra was the key that unlocked that fear and turned it into victory. The most incredible part of this story is the secrecy. The thousands of men and women who worked at Bletchley Park went to their graves without ever speaking of their contributions. The ultra secret was so well kept that for 30 years after the war, official histories attributed the victory in the Atlantic solely to improvements in tactics and technology like radar. While those were certainly vital, the full picture was missing the most critical piece of the puzzle. It was only in the 1970s, when the secret was declassified, that the world learned the true story of the codebreakers and their war-winning intelligence. So the next time you think about the great battles of World War II, remember the silent battle fought not with guns, but with intellect, perseverance, and ingenuity. Remember the codebreakers of Bletchley Park and the ULTRA secret. Their victory in the War of Wits, deep within the English countryside, echoed across the Atlantic, saving countless lives and ensuring the ultimate Allied victory. It remains one of the greatest and most consequential secret operations in all of history. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden history of our world. See you in the next one.